Well, welcome back. So those of you may remember or may not know, last year we were flooded out and the water went up to the trees up there. So that's the normal height of the water here. So it went up to the trees. They're our big bunya trees. So the bunya trees go all the way along our bank. They start at our place and finish at our place down the other end of the boundary, some nearly 500 metres long. So after the floods, we found a lot of erosion happening, and especially in gutters and things like that run along the bank. So I went along, and this is Scamandra. So from here down up to the other end of our boundary, I've planted out Scamandras. So this is Scamandras or Dioides. So we put in Scamandras and Dioides grandiflora. All have good root bowl systems, and no better example here, whereas this here was at least 6 metres underwater. You can see that all the ground held together underneath it, and the trees that are behind it, behind the Scamandras, were protected. So where there was Scamandras growing, the trees immediately behind them, and you can see here, whereas the water came around the Scamandra but left these trees alone, so there's no erosion around that tree there. And this happened all through here, so you can see there's a whole grove of Scamandras here all the way up the bank there. So what we did was we come down, and I planted, I think, nearly 800 or 900, maybe 1,000 Scamandras down from here down to there. And what we're planning on doing is planting out the bank with Scamandras. So we want to stop erosion on the banks here and make it so that the trees are protected, that the wood doesn't get a chance to undermine them. So this morning, brush hook in hand, I'm clearing tracks down here amongst all the weeds. The biggest problem with these weeds is that the weeds grow and the grass doesn't, and the weeds, especially this stuff, their root consistency is basically that. So they have no root bowl, but as you can see, this grove of Scamandras here has completely held all the soil together. And you see that the trees past the groves are fully protected, so we're not losing any trees down here, so that's why we're planting Scamandras all up the bank here. Now working up here, so I've been clearing up, so I bought a walk behind slasher, a little cheap dracher, or whatever they call it, walk behind slasher, and I'm coming down and cutting down most of the weeds down here. You can see here where these trees are further there, they just copped a hiding. That's a black bean. He's doing quite well there. And also down the other end we planted a whole heap of black beans and trees that we knew would survive in the water, and survive being underwater. There's another black bean there. He's right on the water's edge, so they're holding it together. These native bottle brushes, they seem to do all right down here, but again you can see Scamandras, and there's little Scamandras coming up there and there. So they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 growing there. That one, and there's other ones around here, so they tend to grow really good around, once you get an established grove around going, they tend to grow pretty good. So there, and I'm coming down here, but I only had lawn tyres on this little walk behind. You can see here, prime example is that the Scamandra has actually saved that tree. So it's forced the water to go around it. whereas another tree there, which was up there, had no lomandras and it was taken out. There used to be some really big trees here. Not to say that these guys aren't, but they're huge. I think these bunyas here are something like 150 years old. I think they were planted about 150 years ago. You can see there, nice big bunya pines. But there were a couple of rows of them, but the first row on the creek side has, I think there's only 3 of these left in the whole second row planting. Were taken out. But here, there's another grove here. Lomandras are growing quite good here. So if we can get the weeds out and get good grass cover and get good lomandra cover, we might be able to grow some good trees here down on this level here, along here, and hold the bank and recover this bank quite well. And I think if we're able to do that, this nettle here, stinging nettle, whatever you want to call it, I know if you get on you in a world of pain for a while. So down here we have platypus, but this weed stuff here, it doesn't do anything for holding your bank together. And when the weeds grow up, grow, and they'll come back in spring, is that they will kill off all the grasses and that underneath it. So our goal is to keep that down. But like you can see how big this tree here was. It's a huge tree. It's probably a bit over a metre in diameter down the bottom. But there's a nice bunya growing there, and these ones here, they're the big bunya pines. But we want to plant this whole bank out, so I want to plant at least another 3,000 lomandras here. And as you imagine, that comes with a fair bit of cost. But I think the most primary importance is to save the creek bank from erosion, because if you prevent erosion, you prevent destroying our reefs and our other water systems. And God isn't making too much more soil anytime soon, so we got to preserve all the soil that's on the ground, on the land. Oh, sorry, been swinging the brush hook around. So we made a pathway down here. As you can see, it's quite a long pathway. Came down through here. There's some more lomandras growing here, and there's native box brushes. They seem to do really good here, so we may be looking at getting a lot of box brushes here. And we don't mind if people want to donate some little trees. There's a lomandra there, another one there. But there's no denying it that these lomandras are absolutely godsend in saving erosion, preventing erosion. I cut a little track down to there because that's where the platypus are, and I'll clean that up so that we can actually sit there and watch the platypus of an afternoon. But you can see the box brushes down there. They do quite well down right on the water's edge, and they don't mind being underwater for 2-3 weeks at a time. They seem to come back. I think they do mind, they just don't have a say in it. But as you can see, that little lomandra there, you can see how it has held the ground together there. Just by that one, there's another one there. There's one there, that one there. So as you can see, this area here is really terraced. You can see this one here. the ground around it, no erosion around it, because there's a grove of lomandras sitting right in front of it with the water coming back down this way. So that's how good they are, and they act as a barrier and save the trees. So as you can see, that, you know, where the lomandras are, the trees aren't copping a flogging from the water, from the flood waters. But anyhow, that's we'll get down and we'll get rid of some of these, more of these weeds over the next few weeks. You can see this tree here, it's copped a hide and there's no lomandras in front of it. So it's really dropped a caning, and same as that one. But you can see it just, there's nothing to break it up, and you can see that there's really no difference to that one up there to here in the size, but this one here really copped the hiding. So I think that's very telling about how good it is. But these are only Chinese elm trees, so they're basically a weed. But we do have a lot of black bean planted in there, which we grew from seed. So we'll go through and we'll do a whole heap of planting of them, and hopefully it won't be, we won't get a flood too big too soon, that they can get established. That's a black bean there, and that's a box brush and that there, and they held up quite well. So this is Deutscher. So that's what I cleared the track with, and it went quite well. So this area here was all like that up there, just full of weeds, and so we come down here and we cleaned the weeds out and we planted the grass here, and now the grass is really good here, and we're pretty confident that this area will stay together where water comes over it, unlike that area up there or this area here where it will be just, the weeds are only in the ground probably 100 mil, 4 inches or something, have root balls, whereas these grasses, they intertwine and they have roots going everywhere. So that's our thinking behind it. We'd love to do that edge up that way to the big gum tree, but that's not my property. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what we've been doing this morning, and sorry for the lot of waffling on, but I thought it important that we show you where we are. Catch ya.